and the green and white upon my chest. It's such a joy for us to see, for they play football the Celtic way, with the 4-leaf clover on my breast, and the green and white upon my chest. It's such a joy for us to see, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football.
Good evening, everybody. A bit unusual to see us on a Friday night. Usually it's a Wednesday night, but due to circumstances of the game being on Wednesday, it was just a post-match. So myself and Scotty done a post-match on Wednesday night, and our paddy was at the game at Celtic Park, and Davey is in Gibraltar, who's just finished training, I believe. So thanks very much for you guys joining us on this Friday night. Let's just get right into it. Paddy, you were at Paradise, and you also had a wee surprise for your grandson as well. Tell us about it, mate.
That's right, Andy. Yep. Wee grandson Kaleb. I was there with my youngest boy, Blaine, and my wee grandson Kaleb. So Kaleb had been selected pre-match to be one of the wee mascots. So there was 22 of them, each assigned to a player. So that was a wee surprise for him. So just an unbelievable trip for him. Getting into the tunnel with all the players, stripped out in the wee Champions League rig out. Up and down the line, he was telling me about meeting all the players and speaking to Liam Scales and Kyogo, chatting to him in Japanese, and he couldn't understand what he was saying. Fist bumping the players. Just what an experience for him to be able to walk out of that tunnel just at the end of You'll Never Walk Alone, and into that atmosphere and the noise, and lining up then on the pitch. And he actually ended up on the back page of the Daily Record on Thursday morning because somebody picked him out. He was standing with his fingers in his ears. The noise was so loud, so somebody actually picked him out and spotted him. So the Daily Record ran that story. So there's been loads of people getting in touch ever since. The Irish News are looking to do a wee piece on him as well. So just an unbelievable experience for him. He just turned 8 last Saturday. So what an experience for him. So just a brilliant day for us. So we left here in the morning about 9:30, and we were home in the house again. Well, I was just climbing into bed about 20 to 4 on Thursday morning. So just an unbelievable day out. Atmosphere, the whole thing just couldn't have went any better for us. And the wee man he just lapped it up, and he's done nothing but talk about it since.
Aye, brilliant. What an experience. So, Paddy, the start of the game, obviously, you're talking about your grandson there being a mascot. What did you think of the atmosphere yourself at the start of the game? It's something else, isn't it? It's something special.
There was just something in the air, Andy. There just seemed to be something in the air pre-match. While we were waiting for the game, and that, the crowd was just seemed to be so expectant and so up for it. It was much more like the Paradise of 20 years ago. Where you were going into a match, the crowd seemed to be expecting something. And that's just the atmosphere. I think that maybe gave the players such a lift, especially early on. They talk about the 12th man. I know people say supporters can't score goals, but they can make a difference in the atmosphere. So I think especially early on, I wouldn't be surprised if Bratislava were a wee bit spooked for the first 10 or 15 minutes because the noise was just incredible. So just an unbelievable atmosphere, just far more like what it used to be, like a big European night at Celtic Park under the lights. Yeah. Perfect pitch, perfect weather conditions. And the entire stadium just seemed to be buzzing. So I think the atmosphere set the tone for the night. And you got exactly that. You got a performance that actually matched the atmosphere.
Aye, definitely. Davey, sorry, Davey, did you manage to catch up with the game? I know you were busy.
Yeah. I've watched it back, and just what he's saying there. I think in these games, you're coaching, you want the fans to come in and lift the team. We spoke off air about the format of the league possibly giving Celtic a boost, but there's been times, at Celtic Park, at your Paradise, that if it goes 10 minutes and the form isn't there, the atmosphere is always great, but it can sometimes lose its wind a little bit. And on Wednesday night, the atmosphere carried the players as a 12-man for, they could have played for 120 minutes because the standard was phenomenal. The movement, it was like players were playing without hitting a second wind. They just never seemed to tire. And for me, watching the game, it's always different watching something on TV than it is to live. But as a coach watching it, at times, I think if I was a Bratislava manager, I'd have thought Celtic had 14 players on the pitch. They were just relentless. And as you said, Paddy, the fans obviously did their bit because it carried right through, and it wasn't a 15-minute quietness or a lull or wait for Celtic to have a chance. It was constant, and it was brilliant to listen to.
Aye, I think it's been obviously the atmosphere at Celtic Park is a very famous thing. I think the good thing about it is that we've actually put in a real performance to kind of benefit, to take that crowd as a benefit now, a wonder in yourselves. Sometimes Celtic in the Champions League we've almost failed kind of quite early on at times as well. And I think Celtic look a different animal this campaign.
It gels players. It gels players and fans together. It brings you back together. You know yourself. You'll go and you maybe have a bad start, and there'll be the odd bad shout for the fans. Generally, you want your team to win, but there'll be the odd bad shout. It's got to be better. We need to work harder. But on Wednesday, it wasn't. It was a united stadium. The players and the fans were as one, and that momentum, that carries into some tough European matches coming up. But it's a great momentum to have.
Aye. So, Paddy, we get into the game. Obviously, the start. Maida, I think Maida had the first chance, didn't he? He blasted it over the bar.
Right,
I think that's something we're used to with Maida. He's a almost Jekyll and Hyde character, isn't he? He's such a difficult player to play against. He's an asset to your team with his pressing alone, but he's also got a good finish on him as well. We've seen it against Hibs before now. He scored world of goals. But I wasn't too surprised that he didn't convert that. It's kind of what you get with Maida at times. But just after the quarter-hour mark, Engels, corner kick, and the big Irish fella, the big, lovely, ginger-locked Scales, absolute power header into the back of the net. And it didn't matter who was in front of that ball. He was going right through it, but it looks at it to me. What a start for him.
Brilliant, and it was such a delight to see him, get on the end of it, because the big man takes an unbelievable amount of stick for whatever reason. I don't know. People seem to see him as a bit of a whipping boy or whatever. But I like the big man. The big guy gives you absolutely 110%. He's maybe not the best defender in the world, but he was on there on Wednesday night, comparable with anybody else on that park. Head and shoulders at the back. He was actually he was probably more dominant than Carter Vickers on Wednesday night. He was the one that was kind of doing the driving the team forward. And again, that's just something that we touched on a few weeks ago. If he could get that, if he could add that to his game, he's a threat in the other box as well. If he could add that to his game, he could come up with a few vital goals. And that atmosphere, the start that we made, the way we were playing to get the goal at that stage was just, that just made such a difference. And the whole stadium the stadium just erupted. From where I was at, it was just a bullet header. That's how I would describe it. Just looked like a bullet header. The goalkeeper did his best, but too much power. But again, the delivery from Engels, again, something that we've talked about before. Sometimes our delivery from set pieces lets us down a bit, but what we've said about this guy before, this guy's on the up and up. This guy will be different. This is something totally different. And again, that it's the reason why we're not talking about Matt O'Reilly. That's the reason why we're not talking about Matt O'Reilly. And I'm not saying he's come in and replaced him or anything like that, but that's the reason why we're no longer talking so much about him. This guy is different gravy altogether. He's just such a complete player. You know, and as I say, that he's added that delivery now from we were a real threat at set pieces where maybe before we weren't, even though we have a few big men that should be getting on the end of things, but it's all about the delivery end of the box. So the delivery end of the box was perfect, and all somebody had to do was basically get on the end of it. And as you say, Big Scales was prepared to run through a brick wall to make sure he got on the end of that ball.
Aye, Davey.
It's desire.
Sorry,
yes,
David.
It's desire, guys. Yeah, Paddy, it's desire, and again, when you touch on it, you can. We've just come away from a session where you're analysing the game. I'm analysing the game for our boys last week, and you're looking at statistics that say defensively we win every header, but when we go into the opposition offensive box, why do we not win the same amount of headers? You know, when you're a great defending team, why do we not do the same in the opposition box? And he done exactly that the other night. His desire to go and win, he attacked it like a striker. The way he would attack it as a defender, it's my ball and I'm going to win it. And it doesn't matter who's in front. And it's hard to maintain that desire from defence to attack. It really is. But you've seen it on Wednesday night. I mean, that boy was up for it. The header was bullet, as you said. But just all comes down to desire and that mental switch. I've got to attack this the way I would when I was in my own box defender.
Mm-hmm. Now, the first half ended 1-0, but Maida himself and Kyogo actually had a couple of chances each. So when you look at it, Celtic could have went in, 5 up in that first half. Pretty unfortunate, just down to kind of finishing. So Celtic came out in the second half and really went for it. For the start of the second half, I think a couple of minutes in to the second half, and Kuhn puts out a fantastic cross, and Kyogo, a lot of people were saying he bobbied it into the goal, but I don't know. I think it actually came off his thigh. I'm not 100% sure. Appended it came off you, but I think it was his thigh. But anyway, it was there in the place to put it in the back of the net, and good to see wee Kyogo get another Champions League goal there as well. And it really kind of upped the crowd again, especially right after the second the end of the first half.
The history books. The history books won't show. Sorry, Paddy. Sorry.
Nicholas Kuhn, again, just going back to Kyogo in the first half. If the wee man had his shooting boots on, he would have had a couple in the first half. There was one in particular that he normally would just slot that away. You know what I mean? And just for some reason this season, it hasn't seemed to click with him just yet. But he'll get there. He'll get his shooting boots back again. But the second goal just at the beginning of the second half, fantastic work from Kuhn again. Committing men in the box again, just what Davey was saying. That's what it's all about. You get the ball and you get inside the box. You commit defenders to either dangle a leg or make a tackle or do whatever. So they were kind of scared with him with the pace, and just to the byline, great ball across, and it didn't matter what part of me knocked it over the line way. He knocked it into the net, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Celtic goals, as you know, come through the speed and the speed of the attack, and getting at teams when you're in even numbers or you can slightly outnumber them. That second goal came in a position where Celtic were outnumbered by the defenders, but the desire of the boy on the right-hand side to run and take on two players, get to the byline, and like it was about to say, the history books won't doesn't matter if it says Bobby, it won't say Bobby or thigh or knee or shin. It'll just say he scored the goal. But it comes for the desire. I keep it, and I've got it here to look at it now. I've taken a screenshot of the minute the ball hits the back of the net, and they've got 7 players in the box to Celtic's 4. Yeah. And that's about one desire, his ability to get to that line and want to get to that line and put that ball in, and then the desire to get the run was perfect, but the ball was exquisite. I mean, the ball. It could have bobbied in, it could have been anything, I could have put it in with an eyelash even at my level of play. But that all comes for you again, feeding back the atmosphere. The fans are all stood up, they're encouraging them on. You've just come out for the second half. And sometimes, you can come out for the second half and stall a wee bit, but Celtic didn't. They just went for it.
And it's another example of what we've been doing this season so far, and this is why I say the players are now buying into what Brendan has been trying to get them to do. There was times last year it was looked a wee bit turgid and stuffy here and there, but this is where we're really hurting teams now on the transition. I noticed the other night when we're winning back the ball with a high press, and they have maybe committed a man or two forward there, that's when we're really going for it. You know, and you can see it there. You can see it with the wide players. They're being encouraged to drive at the defence and drive into the box and get the ball across the goals. And that's one thing that's been apparent for me this season in practically every game. It's the way we hit people on the transition now. We're so quick, we're so intense, and as Davey says, the desire to get there and the desire to win the ball back and the desire to force mistakes from the opposition. And when they make that mistake, then we go for the kill. And that's exactly where the second goal came from. You know, that pushing high up the field, and as Davey says, they ended up we pushed them right back into their own box there. You know, and even though they had the thing well covered there, we still managed to get Kyogo on the end of that. You know, but again, that was down to, as I say, Kuhn getting the ball, driving, using his speed, using his pace, and getting into the box and committing defenders. One thing defenders don't like is somebody running at them with pace, because that's running at pace at all. You stick a leg in there and down he goes. You know what I mean? So just again, it's just another example of what the way Brendan has turned the team around now, and they're actually buying into what he's trying to get them to do. And that I've noticed that in practically every game now, we're hurting teams on the transition very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel as if, well, I certainly did anyway on Wednesday, that it looked almost like a domestic game for Celtic? They didn't. Now, sometimes in Europe, you're a wee bit nervous and stuff like that. They just seem to flow effortlessly. The play, it just continues on. It doesn't really change, doesn't it? No, because that's what I've got to be honest, is I don't think Bratislava are any great shapes. You know, they're the worst ranked team in the whole competition, I think. But they're still deservedly there. You know, they're champions of their country. That it's a European competition. And sometimes there's been other occasions that Celtic's expected to go and beat teams and they've no beat them, they've drew or they've got beat, you know. So Celtic still had to go and do their job. But I think the transition from domestic into European football has just been seamless. It's just like watching a domestic game. And I know the odds were probably like a domestic game as well. That Celtic were very, very heavy favourites. But I think it's really, really good to watch Celtic and have a wee bit of confidence now getting into. I know the Dortmund and Atalanta games are going to be very, very difficult, and you expect that anyway in any European competition, especially Champions League. But I think Celtic can get into these games with a lot more confidence than we would have had in the past, and it's down to a pressing play as well. It's down to Maida and Kuhn's trickery and his willingness to take on players. Kyogo's getting into plenty of spaces. You've got a cracking bench as well. Very strong backup for Celtic to come on. To give players a rest or if they're injured to come and replace that player. I think there's a real strength about the team now. And belief as well, and bravery actually, believe in themselves. I think that can do a lot to a team.
Well, that's what they're doing.
That transition is seamless.
Absolutely, and the players now are showing. You're seeing signs now that they're beginning to trust the process. Davey will know that, you know, more than maybe we will, but they are trusting the process there. Even last season, I mean, even times on the range, it was the same. You know, we sometimes struggled at home against a team that had 10 men behind the ball. There was times where we really did. It was really a slog and a struggle for us, and you could see sometimes the players beginning to get frustrated. But this team just seems to do, as you say, if it doesn't work, we'll try this, you know. And it just seems to be, you know, they just seem to trust the process, and they know themselves, if they keep doing the things that they're doing on the training pitch and the things that have been working, that they're going to get success. It might take 5 minutes, it might take 10 minutes, but they just keep knocking on the door. And that's just, again, it's a sign that the players are 100% behind what Brendan's doing. And they just absolutely trust the process. It's pass, it's pass, it's pass, and that's what it is. It's just they just wear teams down. And the other one is that the desire to get the ball back whenever we lose the ball is just unbelievable. There's quite a few occasions on Wednesday night where I noticed that, especially down by the touchline, right at the dugouts, Brendan was almost on the pitch, and you can actually see him, you know, exhorting his players to come on, get round this guy. There was one time the fullback had the ball just right on the halfway line, and all of a sudden there was two Celtic players, and Brendan called for another one, and within seconds there was a third man there, and they just basically crowded the guy out, you know. And that's what you can see when you're at the game. You can actually see that the desire and the intensity to try and win that ball back as soon as the other team take possession, and that's more often than not, we either win it back or we force them to knock it long, and then we get it back that way. And that's, for me, that's the huge difference. You know, the players just seem to be 100% behind what he's trying to do, and they're all buying into his system. And it's just, you know, you're seeing that now in the results.
There's a question for James there. Just sorry, David, we'll just come back to you in a wee second. Just a question there for James about Palmer and Yang. Anywhere near the starting 11, given the form of Maida, Kuhn and Forrest? I don't think so myself. I certainly know Yang. I think Palmer's got a half decent chance, but as long as these players are putting in the performances, it's very hard to dislodge them, I feel.
Do you know what? I just feel, I think Yang, I think there's a player in there. He's going to need a bit of development. For me, not at the minute. He's nowhere near being ready to come in and place of any of them guys. Maybe coming on, certainly. But Palmer, for me, is a strange one. For me, he reminds me of kind of El Yunusi. Do you remember El Yunusi when he played?
Yes. Yeah.
And I said that about him at the time. I honestly don't know that Palmer. I honestly don't know that he's ever going to make the kind of. He's not going to progress the way Brendan wants him to. Brendan, look at those three players. Look at the speed and look at the intensity and look at the pace that those three guys have. Palmer just doesn't have that. That's what he lacks. He lacks that yard of pace, and I don't know that he's ever going to be a. I don't know that he's ever going to be a starter, because he doesn't seem to have that burst of pace and acceleration that these guys have. Don't get me wrong, wonderful player, fantastic ability, but for whatever reason, he doesn't seem to have that wee lack. He has that lack of pace, which I think will cost him. Because those guys, I mean, even James Forrest at James's age, coming on there, like you seen him on Wednesday night coming on there with a tired defence, and he was just running rings around them. You know what I mean? No. So,
and this is Forrest, who's in the twilight of his career.
Yeah,
almost, you know.
Yeah. So,
what about yourself, David? Do you see any kind of inroads for any of these players?
I think there's always got to be. He's got to have a squad that's continually developing, and he's got to have those players that are on the cusp. And we don't see what happens in everyday training. We just see the pressures of the league games. You mentioned it earlier about you felt it was almost like a league match the way Celtic played. But what made that happen? I'll come back to it for these 2 points. What made that happen is the Bratislava as well were wanted to go at Celtic, which gave Celtic the ability to come back at them. Whereas Celtic normally, when they go into league matches, are playing against a back 10 or a back 8, and with the style and the flow of football, it's sometimes hard to play your flowing football pass and moving against a really tight unit and break them down. So then jumping back to that point, these young lads that you talk about that are on the cusp, they'll be training every day with the quality of players that we've seen, and that wee yard of pace. You'll always be measuring yourself about it. You've been there myself when you're a young pro, and you know the person you want to get ahead of. You know what your challenges are. You're not playing for a club like Celtic and not picking up a wage for doing nothing. You want to accept that challenge, because if you don't want to go in front of 68 and 70,000 fans on a night, there's something wrong with you. So they'll be there. The desire to get into that team will be there. I think there's very few clubs only a couple of very few clubs in Scotland that offer that. Here's the egg, and here's the nest, and if you're good, you don't go to Celtic and just pick up a wage and spend 3 or 4 years and say who you were. These young lads I think even coming up Monday, Sunday, these are the sort of games, you know, some of the bottom teams in the league, the cup matches. Brendan will have his plan with his coaching staff that will say, Thiago, even Forrest coming off the bench now. You said he's in the later years of his life, so you're going to use him like a latter year striker, but he's coming in at the right time.
I just want to interrupt him when you say the latter years of his life. His footballing life, I take it.
His footballing life, sorry.
I just want to clear that up, Bill.
I'll tell you, once football's finished, you're finished. That's it. Life's done. Right. I'm telling you that. There's nothing left. In the latter years of his footballing life, but what he's doing is he's doing the right thing. He's keeping experience on the bench, and he's got the youth of these young players to come through. Because you can't get rid of players like Forrest. You need them there. It's round 10. You need to knock out, and you need to bring on experience. You can't buy experience, and these young lads will just have to sort of bear with it. But I think we over the years, Celtic have always developed somebody. Celtic are a sort of Scottish version of West Ham. There is always somebody coming through. There is always through Brendan and different areas, Martin O'Neill eras. They've always brought through at least one or two players. So these young lads will get their chance. I think, Brendan's the sort of person that will allow them to learn from the experiences in the training ground, the experiences on Wednesday night. And like you say, that yard of pace he's missing, Paddy, that'll come. And it'll come through training every day with his top pros.
And that's exactly what we said earlier on, a few weeks ago about the transfer window, and it's not that you're bringing in players to replace Greg Taylor replace Kyogo or whatever. You're bringing in a standard of player who now the likes of Yang and Palma and one or two other ones, they see the way the bar has been set now. So the likes of Kuhn, the likes of Maida, the likes of Forrest, those guys sitting watching now, where maybe this time last year they were watching players who weren't producing or whatever, but they're watching, guy, that's the standard. The bar's been set now. That's the standard. And Brendan is saying to them, listen, you want to play in this team, that's the levels you have to get to there. You see the way those guys are playing, that's the levels you have to get to. And that's why I just like Yang, I still maintain he's got all the tricks and all, and maybe with a bit of development with Brendan, who's a development coach, they might be able to tease that out of him. Palma, as I say, I kind of just worry about him because he maybe doesn't have that wee yard of pace. But then, do you know what? There will come games of horses for courses. There'll be games where you might need somebody like Palma as opposed to somebody. You might not need somebody with a burst of speed. You might need somebody with a bit of trickery or a bit of bravery on the ball, something like that there. But again, as I say, just go back to the point that we said earlier, that's the bar's been set now with the kind of players that we have brought in this summer. And you can see that with the way teams playing, and that's the pathways there. You're in the squad, you're on the bench. You can see if you want to play in this team, you're going to have to produce the way these guys are producing. And what Kuhn's doing at the minute, what Maida's doing, what those guys are producing at the minute. I mean, as I say, Jamesy even coming on from the bench, Big Ida coming on, getting his goal, 10 minutes on the field, he scores a goal. That's the guys sitting watching they're more than aware now that that's what we have to do. That's if we want to play in this team, we're going to have to produce the goods. There's no point just coming on and showing up for 10 minutes here and taking your wages. You want to play in this team, you're going to have to work your socks off. And that's you can see that in the team, the way he has them playing. From Kyogo is our first line of defense. That's as soon as they have the ball, Brendan has them defending to a man from the front. And everybody's expected to be a defender when the other team has the ball. So the guys there that are in the wings, they're going to have to, if they get a chance, they're going to have to take it. But it's going to be difficult for them if these guys keep playing the way they're doing, because it's just they're a joy to watch at the minute.
Yeah, sidetracked a wee bit there with that question. I just want to jump back to the game, and we'll finish off of that with the rest of the game. AJ get fouled in the box for the penalty. I think it was a clear-cut penalty, the decision to be made there, wasn't it? The boy booted the back of his leg. Engels steps up again, cool as you like, a guy that can certainly handle pressure, mature beyond his years, I would say. He's only just turned 21 last 1 or 2 weeks. A very cool head, just slots the penalty away, and he looks very composed for a young guy. This is our new penalty taker and corner kick taker and set pieces as well. He seems very comfortable in whatever it is he's doing, doesn't he?
Yeah, just makes it look so easy. And that's, Davey will tell you that about working with players, guys who've played the game. The top class players always look as though they're standing yards of space, and they make it just look so easy. But for a young player, I've just been blown away by the guys. The way he just takes the way he can take the ball under pressure. He's not scared to take the ball with a man up his back. He can turn and can swivel. He can go the other way. And again, the penalty kicks, that's 2 now he's taken. And I've been fortunate to be there both times. And the guy just makes it look so easy. Just like a wee stutter, watches the goalkeeper make his movement and just slots it away in the corner. So definitely, as I said to you, this guy's going to be a superstar. There's absolutely no question about that. We need to enjoy him while we have him, because this guy's going to be a superstar. He's just been called into the Belgian squad for that last international break, so he's going to be playing along with guys like De Bruyne and people like that. So that's only going to benefit Celtic and benefit him. So No, a fantastic player. The penalty itself, I was actually just in line at the side with the penalty area, and Johnson literally just got there a split second. The guy did. I don't think the guy even seen him coming. He just got the touch to the ball, and the guy was just trying to put the ball away, and he just put it at the back of his leg. So it was a stonewall penalty.
Davey, your thoughts on Engels?
He's an unbelievable talent. I'm too busy to follow as much football as I'd love to in Scotland.
Yep.
And then for my sins, I'm a Liverpool fan, so that's what I take my other part to. But since joining you boys, obviously my heart has jumped back to Scotland, and I'm watching more. And this young lad's a talent. He's composed. You hit the nail on the head there, Paddy. In areas, he looks like a European footballer. He looks every part. He doesn't look, excuse us for saying, for those that are watching at home, but he doesn't look Scottish in any way. He looks Belgian. He looks Dutch. Everything about him, his composure, his ability to kill the ball with players around him, and how the strike of the ball. We use a term in football: if you're hitting a penalty or a free kick, if you can hit the side netting, it's a goal. There's no keeper in the world saving it. And he hit the ball with the instep of his right foot and smashed it into that side netting at about 3 feet off the ground. So there's no keeper in the world saving that. That composure to do that. But what's a really interesting point leading into that? It was great, and I think from my analysis of the game and going into the game on Sunday with Falkirk, again, just go back a few steps from the penalty. It was Celtic's midfield running, and then that splitting pass that went into, I think he is a Thiago, and he put the cross across where the keeper saved it. I mean, that football that led to the penalty was phenomenal. He picked a pass through a defensive line in the 18-yard box between 3 players, and the midfield running and the desire to get in the box and get in that ball that led to the penalty. For me, that overshone the penalty. The penalty was excellent because he is a player, but the standard of football that Celtic were producing at that minute when they went 3-0 up was through the roof.
Mm-hmm. I think obviously the quality Engels, that's what you get when you spend that kind of money on it. The quality obviously jumps up, and I think Celtic in the future have got to kind of up their game almost every season, or every couple of seasons at least, is to kind of, you can't keep getting in for these £2-3 million players and hope to make 25 million off them or sell them for 25 million. This is another step up in quality, and it shows when you're in the big competitions that's what you're buying. You're buying real quality.
Speculate to accumulate now. We're in a totally different environment now. Last year and the years before, Celtic and into the Champions League, we spoke about it, we're going into a 4-team league under immense pressure, playing 6 games, and if they didn't win the first game or win the game at home against the lesser team, they were in up that creek and up without a paddle. But now, under this environment, you're like, do you know what? Let's go and speculate. We can bring players in, pick up 3 points in your first game, and you've got a target. There's all sorts of talk. People are chat GBT in it. No one really knows because it's the first year in it, but there's all sorts of talk that 9-10 points could maybe get you to the playoffs. Yeah. Anything over 12, 13, 14 points gets you straight through. Yeah. So with one game gone, and like you say, you look at that league table, of course, we're up there with Bayern Munich and stuff, but you're 1/3 of a way to at least 9 points. It's only 3 games. It's only 2 games away. So you spend the money on players like that, all of a sudden, we're in a totally different ballpark. And the Champions League, again, will always benefit clubs like Celtic, but it's great to see that the club have gone, in order to perform in this, we're going to go and spend this sort of money and bring in this sort of quality.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. Brendan said that, a couple of weeks before the window closed. He did say, Andy, remember we talked about it in one of the previous pods about him, we need to be a bit braver. We just need to be a bit braver. He said that you can, there's nothing wrong with finding the wee gems who cost maybe 2 or 3 million and to sell them on for 15 or 20 million. But as he said himself, it works exactly the same way. There's nothing to stop you from buying a guy who's 10 or 11 million and selling him for 50. And that's exactly what Engels. That's exactly what will happen with Engels. And I can see him developing to the stage where he goes as he will break the transfer record if and when he ever leaves, because he's that good. He's such a good player. The guy has everything. Like sometimes that people say things about look at Hatate. Sometimes they say the fact that he's small lets him down and stuff, but Engels just seems to have the whole lot. He's big. He's a big, rangy guy. Brilliant passer of the ball. The one thing I was impressed with him too, both games against Hearts and Bratislava, was there was a couple of times where he was also required to put the foot in, and he didn't hold back either. So he has that side to him as well. As a midfield player, there was a couple of times where he had to basically 50-50 challenges, and he didn't shirk that either. So he can obviously handle himself as well. But that's it's all good. That's the club have backed Brendan. They've done exactly what he asked them to do in that, and just push the boat out a wee bit more, speculate to accumulate, as you said, Davey, and just see where it gets you. We said before that we don't need to be signing, or we didn't need to be signing 11 players or 12 players. We only needed to sign 2 or 3 just to help us to get to that next level. And it's all about what we talked about before. It's all about the progress and progression for us. Obviously, it would be lovely to think that we could win the Champions League. We're not going to win the Champions League, but it would be nice to see the signs of progress. And that would be, for me, if we were to progress through to the playoff stages or whatever, that would at least be a sign of progress. Anything you get after that would be a bonus. But that's what it's all about. It's about building on what we've done already. And if we can keep building this, if you can keep qualifying for this Champions League for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, you're going to put yourself in a position financially where nobody in Scotland is ever going to be able to touch you. And you are going to keep being able to bring. They've set the bar now. They've set the bar with Engels. So the supporters can see now that that's the kind of player, and they're not scared to put that kind of money out now to bring a player like that in. So they've set the standard now with Engels, and what we need to do now is build on that this season and hopefully go for more again next year.
Well, I think that's all we were wanting was progression, wasn't it? So, I mean, all right, it's only one game, but the signs are looking good. And I know there's a long way to go and stuff like that in difficult games, but that's all you can ask for. And I don't really want to get through all the rest of the goals. We know how it ended up. There was some great football played on the night, and a fantastic. The first time Celtic's won a Champions League opener, which is a long time coming, so I think it gets that monkey off the back as well. It takes a bit of pressure off the players. It gives everybody that kind of good feeling, good spirit as well. So the signs are good, and I'm really looking forward to the games. Normally, when Celtic are away from home, in Europe, I'm sitting just kind of biting my fingernails and just waiting for the disaster to happen, whether it be a player sent off or whatever. But I've got a wee bit of confidence now that we could maybe do something, and these words will come back to haunt me. I'm sure somebody will clip it and put it out there. This guy's made a fool of himself, but I think we're entitled to be optimistic. We're fans, we're allowed to be. We just don't want the players getting complacent, but surely we can be. It's been a long time, so I think absolutely delighted with that. Is there anything else you want to talk about earlier the game on Wednesday?
I think the only point I was going to make is if anybody looks back in the highlights of the game and you look at Scottish football and how football is sometimes played, and we talked about getting the ball, especially that first goal. Even though it was still inside the 18, getting the ball wide, putting crosses in, getting headers on the ball. It's a Scottish trait, isn't it? Get big number 9 going and winning it. All Celtic's goal came from central areas. They came from midfield running and finding at the 4th, and especially the 5th. Again, defence splitting passes. The penalty came from it. And it's brilliant. To go forward and play football in Europe, you have to be adaptable. There has to be many strings to your bow. And if you can play centrally and bring teams in narrow and play through those central areas and find those runs and the defence split passes, and the teams adapt it, then you can go wide. You've always got the space out wide to go back to. And if anybody goes back and looks at the highlights of the Celtic goals, you'll see how brilliantly they go through the middle. They cut Bratislava open. The weight of the pass is splendid. The timing of the runs is amazing. But that comes for the feeling and the atmosphere. But Celtic still have another string. They love to play with white players. We know that. They've done it for 30, 40 years. and they didn't need to show that on Wednesday night. They went central, and I think it's something that should be highlighted. You know, the Celtic of old, from Johnson, and we've always played with wingers. We've always gone forward. Forest, they've always done that, but the goals that all came through on Wednesday night came centrally, and that's an astounding trait to have, to be able to flip from one to the other. The sign of a top class team at the moment.
Aye, just touching on before we kind of leave the Champions League stuff, just a couple of things to cover. Is 2 Celtic players in the Champions League Team of the Week.
Yeah.
William Scales and Engels, which is some testament to, especially Scales, when you consider that Scales is no had a his own way when it comes to the fans' opinions on him. The fact that he's made the Champions League Team of the Week is credit to him, and also Engels, who, you know, first appearance in the Champions League for him, young guy, and what a boost he'll get for that. And it's really good to see 2 players for the Celtic team making the Team of the Week.
Yeah, brilliant for both of them. Absolutely brilliant for both of them. And as I say, it's just testament to their teammates as well. That's the allied to the way we've been playing is the work ethic and the intensity that the way they're playing. Sometimes, as I say, it's difficult when you're watching on TV or if you're at the game. But when you're at the game, you can see the way they're all playing for each other, and they're all working so hard to help out each other and close men down and win the ball back and be offensive as soon as they get the ball. That there's no such thing as this going backwards or whatever. It's we want to get the ball forward. We want to get it into the players who can play. We want to get it to Hatate. We want to get it to Engels, and we want to get it out wide. And you know, so it's just their fitness levels, their desire, their intensity is just off the scale. And that's why it was so good to watch the other night. And I'm not taking away from Bratislava in any way, shape, or form. You know, I don't really think it would have. I don't think it would have mattered too much who the opposition was the other night. The way we played, we imposed ourselves on them. We imposed our game on them, and we never gave them a second. And you know, I think there was a few times where I think, especially their back four, they were, you know, they got the ball from the goalkeeper, and all of a sudden they were like, oh, here we go. There's 3 or 4 men sort of bearing down, and they had to go back with the ball. So you know, that's what you see when you're at the game. You can see the way the team's working, the work that they're going through, the work that they're doing off the ball, the work that they do to try and get the ball back again. And you can see Brendan, as I say, there's a couple of times on Wednesday night where he was practically on the pitch. He was almost on the pitch. So the players are all buying into the system that he's playing, and it's looking good. And from the actual group or the table or whatever you want to call it, our 4 home games, we've already identified the fact that those 4 home games should be winnable. They should definitely be winnable. If we can, you know, keep that level of intensity and that level of performance against the other 3 teams at home, you know, 12 points from your 4 home games shouldn't be a big ask. So that's it's all good. So if we just keep moving forward, keep going the way we're going, and that's all we want to see. We're not getting carried away. We're feet firmly on the ground, but we are looking and thinking, you know what, this is a sign that we're making progress, and that's all we've wanted for the last few years. We just want to see that we're on the road to, you know, putting together some kind of a team that can compete at this level. You're not going to win the competition, but you're going to be able to compete and certainly make Celtic Park a place where opponents fear to come. And then if you do that, as I say, for a season or a couple of seasons, who knows where it'll take you.
Davey, just touching on the 2 additions for Celtic into the Champions League Team of the Week. Good sign for Scottish football in the Scottish League that there's 2 players for Celtic that can make that lineup of the Team of the Week.
There's some immense talent in there as well. I think, like say, be playing devil's advocate just a wee bit. There'll be people out there saying, but the games are spread over 3 days, so it wasn't all the teams in the night. That's fine. But they're competing against some top teams. There were some top players in there. Yeah. But what you can't take away from the performance on Wednesday night, and the reason that those players are in there, is Celtic were outstanding. They were relentless in how they defended and how they went forward. And as I said, the central play, the way they moved the ball, the energy they played with. If there wasn't a Celtic player in that lineup at the end of that night, there'd have been something drastically wrong. Do you know what? There could have been 4 or 5 Celtic players in there on the night. There really could have been. And again, as the neutral, I'll be devil's advocate. Bayern and stuff played on different nights. But you watch a lot of the games over the competition. There was some tight matches in there, including the Real Madrid game and a few. Bayern's game obviously wasn't as tight, but there were some games across Europe this week that some really testing. And other than Bayern Munich, Celtic are probably the only team this week that absolutely dominated a game from start to finish. Yeah. So deservedly so. You look at the scope of the games; they were all on different levels. The reason those players are in there is because Celtic, other than Bayern Munich, were the most dominant team, I think, this week in Europe.
Mm-hmm. So just a wee overlay here. This is what other Scottish clubs are going to benefit financial-wise for Celtic in the Champions League. So that is good news for these clubs. The fact that not only are Celtic benefiting financially, but also other clubs in the Scottish League are benefiting as well. So just a wee overlay there to show you there, which is good news for them. I mean,
it's a couple of weeks. Couple of wages.
Aye, it is, mate. Aye.
So it's a few wages, a few contracts put away there.
Yep. So I think we came away for that game. AJ and CCV have got slight knocks. We're now getting into the game against Falkirk, League Cup game on Sunday at 3:00. CCV and AJ probably will be out. There's absolutely no need to risk these players. Paddy, I'll come to you first. Where do you see Celtic in the lineup? Do you see any major changes for this game? And do you think there should be changes made?
This one, I think he will. I think he will maybe give a few guys a run out, Andy, because that's what we talked about a few weeks ago, about once you get into the up until now, we've only had sort of one game a week. We've been playing once a week, and with no qualifiers and things like that. So the squad has been, the team has really picked itself. But now we're back to the European games. Again, the amount of effort and that Celtic expended on Wednesday night, he's going to have to give a few guys a wee bit of a rest. I don't think Vickers or Johnson are terribly badly injured. I think they've just been given an extra rest day because they had quite a bit of travelling too recently at the international break. So he's just given them. I don't think they trained today. And I think he's probably just given them a wee rest day. He's been doing that with a few of the players. So for this one, I definitely can see him giving a few guys a run out. That's the squad that we have now. We've got guys who can come in and basically replace the players who are going out. So I think there could be 3 or 4 changes now this week. You will be looking at probably the likes of Anthony Ralston at right back. You're probably going to get Austin Trusty, who's going to get a run somewhere for probably Carter Vickers. Again, he could be looking at Big Ida giving a wee run instead of Kyogo. Again, in the middle of the field, we've got plenty of competition. You have Paulo Bernardo, you have Luke McCown. So I can see him maybe giving 3 or 4 guys a run out. For this, and with all due respect to Falkirk, who've done very well. That's it's the standard of opposition as well. So this is an opportunity for him to basically give some guys a wee run out there, and obviously give some other guys a bit of a breather.
Davey, what about yourself? How do you see it on Sunday? Big changes, and what are you thinking for the Falkirk side? Should Celtic be worried in any way?
I've been looking into it, taking some notes here that I've got written down on Falkirk, really looking into the 2 squads. I think this is a game, I agree with Paddy. We were chatting about those players earlier. This is a game that Brendan could possibly use them and give them that run out. But, just looking at Falkirk under John McGinn, he's changed the style of play. They've become a bit more disciplined and efficient. And you're talking about a team that's a bit more structured and fluid in their transitions. We talk about transitions, but their engine room for the Falkirk team is their midfield. And if they get a chance to walk, they'll walk through the midfield, which has been a key element of their success this year. You're talking about a team that were probably rated 3rd behind Raith Rovers and Partick Thistle in that league. And at the moment, they're the strongest contenders. I mean, so far, they're unbeaten, I think, in the league. They're going forward. Their style, recently, I've noticed that there is a sort of high press where they sort of utilise the wide areas, but there's no denying with the Falkirk team as well. They're very good at set pieces. That's probably been their strength against Celtic in the past as well, because they don't score a lot of goals against Celtic historically in open play. But they've got some good players. Ross McIver, a top forward, and the young lad coming through, or a young man coming, Alfie Eigerman coming through. And then you look at the contributions that come from Nesbitt and Morrison that sort of give you a bit of creativity in the wings. And the engine room is Brad Spencer. He's got that passing range and he offers the stability centrally. So if they're allowed to play through their engine room, the way they've been playing in the Championship, they'll do well. Here is the rub here where it lies. They're coming up against Celtic now, a very different beast. Falkirk have been pressing high. Their engine room, going through Brad Spencer, the range of passing. If Celtic go and play their game, which is also a high pressing game and a high intensity game, and both teams perform to the best of their abilities, Celtic will smash them 4 or 5-0 and they'll overrun them. And Falkirk's stance on the game will come from high pressing to almost dropping in. I don't imagine, because McGinn's a top manager, I don't imagine that McGinn's even going to attempt to go and high press Celtic. I imagine that he's going to try and disrupt. Even though his high press has been highly successful, this is a cup match, it's a one-off, it's against Celtic. And then my last point is, at home, the attendances at Falkirk are just going up and up and up. The way that they're now starting to play, I think they'd gone from 3,000 in July against Dundee United to 6,500 in their last game, Thistle, Queen's Park. And the Celtic game will be even better, obviously, with the travelling support as well. So they're getting their fans back as well. So Falkirk, a bit like Celtic for what they're doing in the Championship, are the Championship Celtic. They're playing very well. The fans are coming back. They're gelling with the team. They're a really good team in form. It's a good test for Celtic. I think it's a step too far for Falkirk. But this will be a good test, and it'll be a good test for McGinn and his manager role, where he's proved to be outstanding so far. And they're the team to chase. So I think for Celtic, it'd be a great time for Brendan to introduce those players. I think it's still a step too far for Falkirk, because even when the Celtic youngsters come in, or the second string players come in, as long as they play with the same intensity that was there on Wednesday night and the movement and the running from midfield, I think it can't be anything but maybe a 3 or 4-0 win for Celtic.
Aye, I think you're right when it comes to form. The last 5 games, Celtic obviously won the last 5 games. Falkirk, they've won 4 out of the last 5, and they only lost on penalties to Stenhouse Moor in the Challenge Cup. So, their form has been very good. But as you mentioned, it is a big jump to come to Celtic Park when Celtic are absolutely flying at the moment. And as good as Falkirk are playing, and it's don't get me wrong, it's good to see teams play good football. Yeah. Other teams in Scotland, that's what you want. You want teams to be brave, but I think they need to be a wee bit more conservative when it comes to Celtic Park and
he's too good a manager not to see Celtic strengths. Whether Kyogo and Mida play, depending on what he does, whether Forrest might start, with the young players. But Celtic's, as I mentioned earlier, Celtic's attacking versatility now is clear to see. I've just spoke about it. Centrally, they're amazing. They've always been amazing from wide areas. And for a team like Falkirk, if they press high, that feeds right into Celtic's rhetoric. If Falkirk go and try and do Bratislava and go and try and take the game to Celtic will exploit it, and they'll exploit it heavily. And I don't think McGinn's that daft. I think McGinn will try and disrupt the game, and we'll probably see, for the Falkirk fans, it'll be a bit annoying. They'll probably see a different Falkirk to what they've seen in the Championship this year. They'll see a Falkirk that are very defensive and trying to hold 2 solid lines to disrupt Celtic's play.
I think the Falkirk fans should really kind of expect that. I'm sure they're not going there expecting Falkirk to try and attack Celtic at every opportunity. Plus the fact, if they do try and kind of get at Celtic are so good at the counter-attack as well.
So quick.
Just picking teams up. Yep. Paddy, what's your feelings for the game on Sunday, results-wise?
Do you know what, Andy? The one thing is, it's a cup tie. It's going to be a cup tie, so it's not to say that they're coming there. If Falkirk were coming there as a Premier League team, they'd be coming probably thinking, we need to, we don't want to get hiding here. But the John McGlynn will be looking at it as a cup tie, and Davey will probably agree that certainly his tactics will be, let's try and get a wee foothold in the game. Let's try and not concede something in the first 20 minutes, or it could be a long afternoon for them. So I think that's their game plan. There's absolutely no way that Falkirk are going to come out and go all guns blazing to try to have a go at Celtic. It's a cup tie. They'll want to give themselves some kind of a chance, and their tactics will probably be listen, let's just bed in. Let's see if we can get through the first 10, 15, 20 minutes to see where we go after that. And then again, as Davey said, set pieces and stuff like that, that's where, if we can get a corner, if we can get throw-ins, we can get free kicks around the box, that's where we can maybe have a go. But again, as I say, I still maintain the way we imposed ourselves against on Wednesday night, if we impose our game and impose our squad on the Falkirk squad, I can see it being a relatively comfortable afternoon for Celtic. I can't see a shot. I can't see any kind of a shot. But yeah, I'd be surprised if we don't win. I would go for 3-0. I'll go for a 3-0 victory. I can see us winning comfortably.
I've written down my last notes. I just talked here. I'm just putting down here is the longer the game goes, the more strength Falkirk will find. Yeah. The longer the game goes, it is 0-0, and that's what McGinn's going to be chatting to the players about now. Getting into the game, let's break the game into 3 or 4 quarters over 90 minutes. Let's get through the first 20 minutes, and if we get through the first 20 minutes at 0-0, let's move into the next 20 minutes. Let's take real bonus, and we've got Celtic to here. And if they are not hammering home set pieces today, tomorrow morning, and at every chance they get, I'll be shocked. They'll be hammering home set pieces and anything in and around the box, anything that gives them just a chance to get a run on the Celtic defenders. Because in open play, I just can't see it happening. They won't get any run on it, so their set pieces are going to be essential. So as I've put here, the longer the game goes for Falkirk 0-0, the more pressure is on Celtic, and the more Falkirk will grow into the game.
Aye. So, what do you think, score-wise, Davey?
4-0 Celtic.
4-0 Celtic. Oh, bad. I think I'm going to go 3-0 Celtic. I'll go 3-0, same as Paddy Boy.
See if I get this right. I win a Mars bar or something like that.
You get absolutely hee-haw, mate. So,
I was going to say, see if it is. I'm in my kitchen. I've come into the kitchen tonight. There's no air conditioning in the kitchen. I'm absolutely sweating, sitting here.
Aye, stop showing off, Dave. You all right? We all know you're having your brother.
Right. I've lost about 2 kilograms in this podcast.
So we get. So that's just about us for the night. But I just want to touch on the post-match on Sunday. Davey, are you coming on the post-match or are you busy?
Yeah, certainly. If you would have me, I'd love to. I'm looking forward to watching the game on Sunday.
Yep. And Paddy, are you jumping on as well?
I'll jump on as well, Andy. Yep, I'll jump on Sunday as well.
So, and our Scotty will be back as well. Scott,
I'll check that. We've got a game tomorrow night. It's at 7:30 kickoff. Lions versus Mons Calpe, and that'll be streamed as well. So if anyone wants to watch that, that's Lions FC Gibraltar. If we win, that'll definitely be on Sunday. If we don't win, I'll chat to you Sunday morning and see how I'm feeling. All right.
Right. No worries. That's fine. That's fine. But Scotty will be back on. He's working tonight, unfortunately. So the man that steers the ship is busy tonight. That's why you're fit to put up with me. So
you've done a good job, Andy. You've done a good job tonight.
He's done a great job. He's in Morocco, just sorting out some deals, Scotty, at the moment.
Aye. Let's not go there. So we'll be back post match and Sunday. So fingers crossed for that. Celtic get a result. I just want to touch on as well. Next Wednesday, as you know, regular viewers will know that we're on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. This is the last day of Tommy Burns' segment this month. And we are going to be joined by Simon Donnelly on Wednesday, 25th of September at 7 p.m. So be sure to tune in for that. It will be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some cracking stories in there. It will be great to talk to Sid. So really looking forward to that. And also, if you could just press a like, share, and subscribe, it would really help us a lot. We've jumped up a good few subs, so we're nearly at not too far off the 600 mark, which is right unbelievable for the amount of time we've been doing the podcast. So we really appreciate every single one of you that comes on and watches us and follows us and presses subscribe. So a big thank you to all of yous. Anything else you want to bring up? I'll talk about.
No, that's us. We're good to go. Looking forward to the weekend now. As I say, great performance on Wednesday night. We're flying high. It's just a real joy to watch the team at the minute, and you just it's like you just can't wait for the next one. So the next one happens to be Sunday. It's a cup tie. Falkirk will come and have a go. So let's just see what happens.
For me, it's just great to be part of. It's great to have a real love for Scottish football again and be listening to it. And Paddy, please pass my regards on to your grandson for that amazing achievement. Because when we were young, getting on in the Daily Record anywhere but the back page was what we used to always do. But for him to get at least the sports pages, he's done very well.
Yeah, that's it. The wee man was buzzing. He was absolutely buzzing.
And rightly so, mate. Rightly so. Proper moment.
So that's us. So I just a big thank you to Paddy and Davey for coming on, sparing your time. It's been great chatting to you.
And pleasure as always, Andy.
We will see you on Sunday. So see you later. Bye.
Yeah,
good night, mate.